My name is Dave Moss. For over 20 years now, I've been helping motorcycle riders all over the world with suspension tuning, chassis setup, and tire wear on their street bikes. This is 2 Clicks Out.
It's here. It's finally here. The brand spanking new DaveMossTuning.com. All of Dave's videos and articles in one convenient location. Click the link below and enjoy.
And you're nothing there. So the back of the bike is rigid, so you hit a bump and it's smashing you out of the seat. I guess we better fix that, huh? All right, I need into my tools. That's okay. All right, I got to take the rear set out of the way.
That sucks.
No, it doesn't. Kawasaki, I got to take the whole back of the bike off.
Really?
Yeah, this is easy. Nothing wrong with this. This is 2 seconds.
2 volts, yeah.
So now we'll unwind the spring and take some tension out of it.
That's why I don't put my thumb in after.
Yeah, that's why you get blurred vision over bumps.
Some tricks there.
Nope, not yet. When did you buy the bike?
6 years ago.
Okay. And you've ridden it like this because?
It was in the storage for like 4.
Oh, that's your excuse? Still more.
You just turn those together, you don't have to unlock them and lock them together.
When they're not binding and biting?
Yeah.
No. It's turning very freely with no real pressure from my hand.
Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah, absolutely separate them. Okay, so that's 3.5 turns off. There we go. Okay, job done.
What were you looking for there, Mark?
We had 0 static sag at all. So what we're trying to do then is see how many turns of preload we need to take off to give an appropriate amount of static sag. So it was 3.5 turns to give him approximately 10 mil, which would be a lot better than the pounding he was taking with it as it was. So you're at 40 in the front and you're at 40 in the rear, but we still have to check this. So you have no static sag whatsoever.
Yeah, I figured it's like compressed all the way down, like over
Right,
the-
now did you change that?
No, it was from the previous owner.
Okay, so the bike has no dead space or free sag? Not good.
Yeah.
So let's fix that.
I think it's bouncing a little bit.
I think.
Yeah.
You'll find out when you go for a ride after. One of the things after the adjustment is made is that you go ride.
Yeah.
So that was loose. That wasn't even tight. Okay. So let's move that up. Give us some space. What we want to see is about 5 to 8 millimeters of that static sag.
Okay.
We don't need much more than that. So we shouldn't need too much in terms of adjustment here to get to that point. But because the spring's so tight, it's fighting being adjusted. But Well, he had a theory, and he went with the theory. But the theory wasn't the right one.
Yeah, I mean,
There's no static sag at all in the bike. Now, set it up, and now we have static sag. So now when you hit a bump, that's gone away. So we'll make sure that this upper ring is tight. And snug that right down. 30, off you get, I'm clear. 55, so 25.
Yep.
Don't be shy. You have no static in it at all. The other one. Okay. So we need to drop that a notch and see if we can get a little bit of static out of it. Just one notch, I think. Yeah, there. So it's 20. So how much are you going to eat in the next month?
Oh, what?
Because it's way too stiff. You can't even pick the back up, so you're the same.
Okay.
The bike's rigid, so we can fix that. See the step? See where that is there?
Yeah.
We need to take it down a couple of lower steps. So let's do that. So we'll go down 2 on preload. There's 1, and we'll go 1 more. And now we'll see if I can pick it up. There. So now when you hit a bump, you won't get bounced out of the seat. We need to give you some peace and quiet when you ride rather than a grip every time you go over a bump. So we're going to notch down the preload one at a time, and you can see up here the staircase.
Yep.
And you're quite high right now on that staircase, so we need to turn the shock this way to lower that staircase. So let's push it down a little bit. 1, 2. Let's see if we now have that gap we need. Press it. See the difference in energy of return? Significantly better, and we can pull it up. Now, technically, I could go 1 more, but that would, for you, make it feel like you did this every time you got on the gas, which would be unnerving. You're used to the bike being like that and doing this. So in time, after about a month, you could soften that 1 notch once you've recalibrated to what you have and see if you like that or you don't like it.
Okay.
Then the bike is being defined by you, not your riding being defined by the bike. So you can change that around and fix it. So every bump you hit, because the spring tension is so high, because you can't pick the back of the bike up at all, is pitching you forward.
Is that called preload?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the tension on the spring is so strong, there's no dead space. So no matter what bike you ride, whether it's yours or somebody else's, can I pick it up in the back? Nope. Can't pick it up. Don't want to ride it. Whoa! I don't want to ride it because what it means is that and all of a sudden you're telling them exactly how the bike rides, and they're, what? Fish on. Well, it's doing that because of this, this, and this. So what we need to do is do this. Do you have tools with you? No. Okay, you need to go see this person so he can fix that for you. It doesn't have to be me, right? It needs to be somebody that's got the tool to ratchet it down. So what we need to do is soften that preload, right? Okay. So you can see on the staircase, the steps are barely steps. It looks like it's just a motocross sprocket with all the teeth gone. So where we're at right now, that step there, in terms of the size of the collar, is too thick. We can't pick the back of the bike up. So it's way too thick and it's violently shaking the bike. So we're going to go 2. 1. Come on. Got to open that up a little bit. 2. Now press it down. Can you pick it up? Yes, sir.
Perfect timing. Is this the last one?
Yeah. Can you pick it up? It is. So, are we packed in there? Okay.
I mean, it's okay. I mean, you know, last week was insanity. Our
Right.
last month was insanity.
I was there.
It's like 300 people.
So that will save your life.
Okay.
6:05. Off you get. I'm clear. 6:05 to 6:35. So you're 30 in the back plus static, and you have none. So you're the second kid on the trampoline. See ya. So we can fix that.
Okay.
That's easy to do.
I like the sound of easy.
Yes, easy. Most of the time, with the exception of a couple of motorcycles by brand, they are easy.
Okay.
Some are awful because you've got to strip them apart to just make a very small change to the shock. So this design is by far the easiest of all because they're immediately accessible.
I remember reading an article when I was researching getting this that you took one of these out for a spin and they're saying how much you like this and tweaked it just a little bit and how good it was.
Yeah, over the $11.99 at that time, they said, would you want this one or this one?
You have more fun?
Stock suspension on this is better.
Really?
In my opinion, yeah. By far.
Fancier isn't always better, right?
Sometimes fancier costs more money for no reason. So a little bit of diligence. The problem is these days getting a test ride is difficult. And you can, you know, if you've ridden enough, you can feel when it's better. I like this one over this one. So, see now I can pick it up.
Yeah.
So if you hit a bump, you won't be out of the seat.
What we do, Dave?
So we're at 2 turns and I'm going to put it to 2.5 to get the static sag that we need right there.
Which is how much?
So in this bike, because actually the shock's quite soft on the spring, you want static to be between 8 and 12, specifically on this bike. Doesn't matter which model Panigale it is, but the general rule of thumb would be that on the base model. Because stock, generally, the springs are quite soft, so you don't need too much. Okay, 600, go ahead. Off you get, I'm clear. There we go. 600 and 35 in the back, plus we got static. We don't have a lot. So, what do you weigh? 2? Right around 2?
Yeah, around 2.
Thank you for agreeing with me. That's excellent. Oh, wrong one. Which day? Saturday night or Friday night?
Right.
So there's not much pickup in the back.
Yeah.
So if you hit a big enough bump, then it's gonna hurt you. You're really gonna feel it. And you don't need to carry that level of risk at all. So if we soften the shock up a little bit, when you hit a bump, it's not gonna do that to you.
Okay.
So to do that, we've got to undo this lock ring, spin that out of the way. I'm going to back it off 2 turns from where it is now. And now it'll push down, but it will also pick up. So when you hit that bump, it's not going to take you out of the seat. So now that's done, this has to get snugged back here. And that's it. So that one's done. So as far as tension on the spring goes, the back was really, really stiff, which made the front dive on the brakes and it turned too fast because it's almost a unicycle.
Oh, I see.
Because the bike's pitched so far on its nose, was never designed for that. That stuff ended in 05, 06, when you'd actually put bikes on their nose by almost an inch this way. They don't need that anymore. The level of engineering we get on bikes now is fantastic. I mean, you can't get a bad bike. What you're buying off the showroom floor is phenomenal. You just got to set it up for you and the way you ride and your weight. So you have 30 millimeters of stag with you on it in the back. And the other thing we need to see is, can we pick it up? Barely at all. So when you decelerate, it's doing that.
Okay.
So you could actually have the shock be 1 notch softer.
Okay.
Give you a little more comfort and a lot more control when you're in the ride.
Okay, good.
So let's change the preload. 1 notch softer. So you can see there's a mark on the back side, a mark on the front side here, where that fits into that mark. And the bigger it is, the more preload you're using. So if we're going to take preload off, do we need to come to me or do we need to go the other way? Which is lower? This way on the bottom or this way on the top?
This way on the top would be, if you wanted to get the spring
softer,
so you want to come
to me, right?
Yeah, come back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So one notch. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Now let's see what we've got there in terms of being able to pick it up. See the difference?
Oh, yeah.
So 2 kids on a trampoline.
Yeah.
One goes home earlier than the other. You were the second kid because it's what's called free or static sag. You had nothing here.
Right.
So every time.
I was in the air quite a few times.
Right. Now, 50, 25 in the back. So that's race sag on with a lot more travel suspension than a standard road bike. And we have a tiny bit of static sag. That's it. So the back of the bike is stuffing the front end into the ground, creating oversteer. Which tracks did you ride predominantly?
Thunderhill and
Thunderhill?
Sears.
All right,
Thunderhill was like the fun one because I had a.
So it'd be like coming into turn 2 and the bike going whoa, straight across on you and whoa, right? Oversteer. Because it's so stiff to your weight, and then because it's no static sag as well, your bike is pitched like this. So go ahead and soften it up a little bit. It's going to give me, okay. I'm going to have to do it that way. Okay. There we go. So we'll take a turn and a half off.
A lot more compliant. Find it a little less. Immediately felt more comfortable because of the handlebar position. Just need to turn all the instruments. Yeah, but
That's better. All right, so let's lock that up. Now, do you know where your other settings are currently?
no.
All right, so let's have a look and see what we have. Okay, so that's snug. All right, off you get, 60. 20 in the back plus static. Okay, so we'll drop it 1 notch softer so you can get closer to the ground, but with the front being so stiff, it's up here.
Yeah.
So by the time we soften the front up, the bike should actually sit flat, be much nicer. All right, come here right there. Okay, then we will bear that in mind. Which track?
Thunderhill.
Thunderhill? Cool. That'll be a fun day. So preloads down 1 notch, just so the sag number isn't so tight and the spring's not so firm, to 585. So you've got 25 rider in the back, And then there's something called free or static sag in the back. Can we pick it up? See, watch the seat. Let it go. Set it. Now watch your seat. See it pop up?
Yeah.
So you have some static sag, which means when you hit a bump, you are not the second kid on the trampoline going ding.
Yeah.
But it's a very small amount.
Okay.
So the sag number's tight, the static is small, your general range is 30 to 40 mil in the front and you're at 37. The rear for the street should be the same, 30 to 40, so your bike is in essence there. You brake, it turns. You accelerate, you get the geometry to finish the corner.
Okay.
So your bike is pitched this way quite a ways, so we need to flatten it out. Did you put a 180 on the rear or 190?
180.
A 180, okay. So in terms of the adjustment, go ahead and look through on that side. See there's 2 rings at the top of the shock?
Uh-huh.
So what we're going to do is loosen that upper ring. Okay, and then we're going to move the rings up to the top of the shock, and what that's going to do is soften the tension in the spring and increase the amount of static sag so that the bike isn't so much pointed forward like it was before. Now we don't need much of an adjustment in that regard. Almost even. And so you didn't buy a unicycle, right?
Right.
But when you were braking, because of the tension in the back, the pitch of the motorcycle is on here on the gas cap, not where the rider is here on the tank.
Okay.
So the bike has, to some degree, determined your riding experience, right? You paid for it, it should do as it's told. Now you had a blue mark on the shock rings, so I'm going to put that back where it was, and that's 1 full turn. So now, let's check what we've got for static. So if you watch that gap, that's much better. Right, so now, the bike will sit flat instead of pointing forward. 50, 80. So the back of the bike is correct. It's 30 millimeters, but the front is very stiff. So you're riding something other than a sport bike because you're up here. So as far as that goes, we'll check the back. And we have free sag here, so that's good. So the back of the bike's set up well for your weight, but the front is way too stiff. So 65 to 90, and then do we have static sag next? Yeah. So you're perfectly safe because you've got plenty of static sag. And the sag in the back for you is 20. A TTX should be 15 to 25, so right in the middle. And then static sag, we got a little bit. So overall, the setting for the spring is fine. 80, off you get. Okay. And then we got static sag in the back, so that's good. So the back's reasonable and the front's slightly soft. Such a good looking bike. All right, off you get. 50. You got the same exhaust as me too.
Is that right?
50, yeah. 30 in sag.
Quad E.
Yeah. Static's nice, that's about right. 70, go ahead, dismount.
I tried, it made a week attempt at adjusting the sag. Put the fronts to full soft.
Yep. And that wouldn't have been too bad.
And I went through full soft and 3 turns back in because I felt a little too soft.
Yeah. So did you touch the hydraulics at all?
I didn't touch anything. I tried to watch your video and it said like 25 clicks and I had 14 clicks and I just stopped after that.
Oh, gotcha. All right, so we can pick the back of the bike up way too much. which is what makes the front feel so soft, because you're bringing all the weight from the back of the bike when you brake. So effectively, you're on a medieval stone thrower, right? So that weight transfer, exactly, that weight transfer is what crushes the front end. So if we can get rid of all this slop in the back, then the bike, when it accelerates, also will accelerate properly and not do a sudden and violent weight transfer to the back.
You always think that it should go down, but it goes up, doesn't it?
See that static? So that's what we call free or static sag. You have 3 times that. So you sitting on it, the sag number was enormous. Now that we've got this under control, the sag number will be appropriate. So we, on that, to get started, the minimum's 3 turns in. Okay, off you get. And that's really soft. So you're riding essentially this. Because the back is so soft, when you sit on the bike, it compresses the front a little bit, but the back drops right down.
And you want the bike to be level, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I've got to take your rear set off to get to the shock to change the tension. Okay. Now, notoriously, these bikes are way too soft on the spring. So what you want is dead space here and here. We're going to have to get rid of that because of your weight, so that the shock isn't working down here. And then when you brake, all of it comes forward.
See, I've noticed that. I feel like that whenever I brake, I do it, a lot of it goes forward.
Now you know why. Because the back is way, way too soft. Ideally, you should get a spring that's appropriate for both your weights. And that's $150. The question is, can you afford it?
Yeah.
And if you can't, then we can modify the setting in the bike to make it work. But it's not the right solution overall, right? So the question is, at some time in the future, can you afford a shock spring that's appropriate for your weight?
Yeah.
And is it for you, if all you're doing is commuting with a bike? No, it's not really a worthwhile purchase, but you're riding up in the hills and having fun. It's a mandatory, it's a mandatory purchase. Otherwise, you're riding a chopper. Did you buy one? No. Then why should you suffer the indignity of riding one? So now that allows me to get here to this. Let's see if that'll pop loose. That. That's nice and free now. So what we're going to do is wind this down and shorten the spring out, right?
Yeah.
Didn't need it to do that. So unfortunately, we've got to put a ton in on this soft spring to get the sag number where the bike will sit flat. So we're just going to keep winding away on it. So I'm going to screw this back in so it's still loose, but I want to, with what we've done, I want to check the math and see where we are and see what the difference is. So back on the bike. And same thing, hold the bars and sit in position. Feet up, grab the bars. Okay. So 45. Okay, off you get. So 35 instead of almost 50, so we're halfway there. So I put 3 turns in, so we're going to need 3 more.
To schedule a remote tuning appointment for you and your bike with Dave via text, email, Facebook, etc., contact Dave on Facebook or by email, dave@davemosstuning.com.